Today's video, I'm going to show you a little pottery hack. It's a damp box hack. And we'll cut some more canes of multicolored clay that will become jewelry. So in pottery, we do a lot of waiting. I feel like sometimes that's a metaphor for life. Today, I'm doing some waiting, sitting with my cup of hot cocoa, trying to get rid of a headache. I went to dance class this morning and had a wonderful time. And then, I don't know if it's the weather or what, but waiting for the headache to go away because I need to get out in the studio. So there's a lot of times we need to get out in the studio, but we can't because we have to go to work, we have to sleep. So we put clay projects in damp boxes, and that kind of puts them in suspended animation. It keeps them from drying out. So it's a plastic box with plaster poured in the bottom, and then you put water in that plaster, and it keeps the environment moist and it keeps things from drying out. Tim C, I believe, is credited for inventing what he called the magic box. I'll put a link below to his video on how to make these. When I was in university, my first ceramics classes 30-something years ago, we didn't have damp boxes, and I was in Tucson, Arizona. We had to wrap things in plastic so tightly. Anyway, now we have damp boxes, but they're big because I put mugs when we attach these handles. Especially on porcelain, it wants to separate, so I dry it really, really slowly in a damp box. I do have a smaller one, and I need to just make a bunch of smaller ones. I have a smaller one that I dry handles in and some smaller pottery pieces. But the other day, I was working on this project in this video, and I needed to bring just one small little bit of clay in the house. And all of my damp boxes, the small one was full, the big one was full. I didn't want to haul a huge damp box in, so I came up with this. I was really pleased with myself. It's silly. Take little joys where we can find them, huh? in tiny damp baggies. What else? The project today is making some jewelry pieces, and they will be fired in the next few days, and then I wait. It takes probably 8 hours to fire a kiln, my electric kiln, and then have to wait about 12 hours before you can open it. So a lot of waiting is involved. Patience. I made this cane this morning, and I was out in my studio, and I wanted to bring it in the house because I can cut it in the house. And I wanted to store it for a while in a damp box. And for just this one little piece, I didn't want a huge damp box. So I had an idea. I'm sure I'm not the first to come up with this, but for me right now, this seems like the neatest hack. I had this circle, the circle inside the baggie of plaster. I made it the last time I was making a damp box or a magic box, and I had extra plaster. I just poured some of these round things in some little buckets that I had. So I thought, well, to bring this in the house, or to instead of putting it inside a huge damp box to bring it in, I put my little round plaster bit in a baggie. It works perfectly. Seal it up. It stayed very damp. Now, a baggie, I'm sure, is not going to keep things as damp as a plastic box, but it worked really well. And for small things, especially working with canes, if we want to move them around, I think I'm going to use that a lot in the future. Canes are like composite works. It doesn't look like much when you're looking at these canes because they're kind of muddy on the outside, but there's layers inside or intricate designs inside of colored clay. So the magic happens when you cut it and you see the pattern on the inside. So what you see in the little damp baggie is just a cane, and the process of making the layered canes, I showed in some previous videos. So links below. This video will be cutting the canes. I keep the canes in a damp box, and now my damp baggie, to help equalize the moisture content until I can get to cutting them. It's to make sure it all sticks together really well. If I cut it right after I make it, it tends to separate. If I let it sit a while, it works better. So let's cut this cane. We're gonna go this way, so it's not as far to cut through. Nice. Oh, pretty. I was trying to think, what is that? That's a light brown, a blue, a purple, a black, and white. So now I'm just cutting little pieces, and I will cut earrings out of it. I'm needing earrings. I've got a lot of pendants. And also, I'm going to use these in larger pieces. I'm going to make different patterns. I can put some of these canes on the outside of a form on the pottery wheel, attach them on the outside, kind of pat it in, and then throw, and it'll swirl the pattern. As I'm cutting into this cane, different cross sections will look a little different. I like this one. Look at that. I think I'll make some pendants with that slice. So let's slice some more off of this end. Trying to cut it very even thickness. It's got a little bit thinner on this end, but that's fine for a pendant. I like it to be a little thin at the top. I meant to do that, no, but it works out just fine. See, it's a little thinner here, a little thicker here. Pretty. What do we think? Do you like that? Do you like that? I would love to hear in the comments from you if you are watching this. I'm a very small channel. I can absolutely respond to comments. I'd love to see who's out there. I watched a video earlier today about pottery friends. A lot of what we do is so, almost wanted to say isolating, but it's a solitary pursuit unless you're in a community studio, which is wonderful. But right now I'm working out of my home studio. So I'd love to find community in the world. If you're watching and you're a potter, or you're not a potter, if you think this is interesting, drop me a comment. Let's chat. So I like, there are some thicker layers, there are some thinner layers, there's some movement. I keep going back to pendants. I like pendants, artistic, unique pendants. So I make things that I like. Isn't that what we do? Make things that we like. But I keep having people ask for earrings. And the earrings, I think, have all sold out at the gallery where I show my work in downtown Hot Springs. So I'm making some more earrings. Some of these will be pendants. Some of them I will turn into earrings. I do have a show coming up in a few weeks, and I don't have enough big pottery. And this is a smaller show. It's not really an art festival. It's a jonquil festival, a flower festival, but there are artists that go. So what I'm saying, I can bring jewelry, I can bring my pottery. I would love to someday get into the more high-end juried festivals, but I know I need more fine art type pottery, or fine art type ceramic work. And I do some of that. I love it, but I'm working my way slowly into that world. You also have to have a booth set up, booth design, a really nice tent, which I bought last year from a retiring artist in Oklahoma. I bought a nice tent, so I have one. I still need more shelving. It's a big process. When you're trying to do that with a limited budget, it takes some time. There, my cane is all sliced. I have all of these pieces to work with. So that one's going to be a pendant. This one's going to be a pendant. I'm trying to shape it a little. I don't want any sharp edges on it. We'll just smooth it off a little bit. It's a lot easier to do that right now than if I wait until it's completely dry or bisque fired. After they're bisque fired, they'll be hard, and then I can sand them. That one kind of reminds me of the backdrop of The Scream. Edvard Munch. Am I saying his name completely wrong? But you know, the painting. These are screamy pendants. Let's see, what else will be pendants? I don't want too many. Definitely want earrings. I want earrings of different colors than what I already have. I have a lot of teal, yellow, and black. So these are going to be different color. One of these I want to keep for myself too. I keep the, I was going to say I keep the pick of the litter, but truth, I end up keeping the seconds, the ones that have little problems to them, and that's fine. I like those. My son was looking at the one I was wearing yesterday, and he said, "Mom, I like your pendants." And so I showed him that the one I had was a second, because it had a little smudge of blue on it, but no one would know if it had a little smudge of blue. They're not supposed to be perfect because they're handmade. Now I'm going to cut some into earrings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 sets. I need to keep moving because it is drying out. What if I use the smaller one? Let's make some at an angle. You know what I mean? At an angle so the stripes don't go straight up and down or sideways. And this is oval shaped. The stripes are at an angle. What do you think? Do we like the oval shape? Do we like the round shape? I know I need to find my small round cutter. I've got like 2 of them, I know, 2 or 3, and I just don't know where they are. Spring cleaning is coming to my craft supplies in the house and my studio. It's almost like cutting out cookies. I like baking. I've always liked decorating cakes. You know, for my son's birthday every year, I always made him a nice cake. And we still do. He's going to be 26 this year in November. I got my other cutters. Oops, you can't see it very well. So there's circle cutters, oval cutters. I'm going to cut like this. See, that's an interesting pendant just like that. I'll attach the bail up here. I've done some of these, a series of them with just white little half circles like this with blue dots on them. And I liked them. They were kind of meditative. It's a nice shape. Variety. We're going for variety. I like that one. Can you see it? It could be that way. It could be hung this way. It could even be hung this way. Okay, these are all of the pieces that I cut from the last cane. But there you can see the colors. Kind of close at this point to what they will look like when they're glazed. Of course, they'll be shiny when they're glazed. But as they dry, they get kind of a dusty, dry look to it. And then they're bisque fired and then they're glaze fired. So these are all the scraps. And we're going to make a stropel cane. Well, let's see what this one makes. So for this stropel cane, I can't remember the first name, the woman's first name. Stropel is her last name, I think. She's the first one that kind of came up with this. It's polymer clay technique, and we use it in porcelain. A little dry. I sprayed it so it will stick together better, and I'm also trying to not create dust. All the little scraps, trying to make it into one piece. There. I have one stropel cane. Doesn't look like much here. I'm going to be patient, and let it sit for a while before I cut into it. It's been resting in my dant baggie. Let's see what is inside. Now I get to decide. Do I cut it this way? Do I cut it this way? Let's go with this way. I like that. should that be? Pendant piece. That's what it's going to be. I like using these. I can bend them with the polymer clay. It's a little flexible. It's a nice handle. So this is a polymer clay. This is porcelain. The porcelain you fire in a kiln and it will become very hard. Here, I have some pieces that were seconds. You can see why. These two fused together in the kiln. But I was learning how to fire them. I fire them on a little piece of metal. I have that over here too. A little piece of metal. Then I have different things that I hang it on. That's what these will look like when they're finished. And not fused together, hopefully. So the glaze melted and it's like a glass. And it just stuck together. But those were from my very first set. And I've learned some things. So this next set should be more successful, not as many failures. I like that cross section, but it's teeny tiny. That's just too sloppy. There's a really wet piece in the middle. But this is the one that I liked so much. See if I can save some of it. It looks almost like figures. 3 little figures. See the white? I see those as being faces, and this is the body. I don't know. And it doesn't have to mean anything. I just thought that was an interesting thing. I'm singing. Stuck in my head. One of my students' solos. I teach music. I'm a flutist. That's been my profession, my main job. And I teach university 1 day a week. I taught full-time for 16 years. And then I quit as my mother was getting older. I took care of her and she passed last year. But I still like having just part-time university work. So I teach 1 day a week at university. And then I have time to work on my pottery. Time to do some other things. I certainly stay busy. I teach flute lessons online. I started doing that during the pandemic or right before. And it wasn't because of the pandemic. It was because I was transitioning to online work, because I was traveling to care for my mother. Anyway, I stay busy. And I like what I'm doing. I heard someone recently say, you have to learn how to love yourself. Of course, you know, we always hear that. Heard it a million times, but we're so critical of ourselves. And then they said, you know, I'm happy to be me. And I had that realization. Yeah, I'm happy to be me. I'm doing things that I love. I'm throwing pottery. I'm making work with porcelain and colored porcelain. I'm experimenting with new things. I'm still making music, and I'm teaching, and I'm performing, and I'm hiking. I live in a really cool place, in a national park. And I'll have wonderful family. Happy to be me. I can say that now. I haven't always been able to say that. And then the scraps of the scraps. You remember these were all scraps that I used to make this Strata cane. These will just be recycled. Dry them out and then make more black clay with it. Just put a bunch of black stain, and having the colors inside it won't hurt anything. So that's how I can recycle the little bits left over. This one's pretty. It reminds me of a peacock feather. I'm not going for anything specific in these. It's very random. But then when I see the patterns, I try to choose, you know, what part I'm going to cut out. So there's that one. This one may be my favorite. There's some different patterns in there. You can see some of the different cane slices. Thank you for joining me today for my porcelain project and musing about life and creativity. And send me some notes in the comments and check out my online shop for some finished jewelry pieces.
What if you get lost and you're taking this on video? If you get lost, it's going to be on video.